Beckley detectives feel confident they're closing a cold case that's gone unsolved for the last nearly 40 years. Now an indictment has been returned in the case of Cynthia Miller. She was a Beckley teacher who was brutally murdered on the eve of her wedding. Our Annie Moore brings us more on the new developments, including an exclusive interview with Miller's only surviving family.
It was the night before Cynthia Miller's wedding in August of 1981. The bride-to-be was beloved in Beckley, where she worked as a middle school math teacher.
She was very talented. I always said that God just picked a rose for his garden.
She cared enough to spend lunch breaks, after school, early morning, whenever we needed her, she would help us.
That evening, Miller's fiance, Gary O'Neill, a Leicester police officer, left for Princeton to see his father one last time before the wedding. But when multiple calls went unanswered, he grew concerned. As he walked into the couple's house on Miller Street, close to midnight, the life he left behind was over.
She was discovered that she had suffered gunshot wounds, was deceased. I think it's fair to say that he is no longer a suspect at this stage.
O'Neill, Miller's mother and father have all passed away in the decades since the murder, but one neighbor and family friend, Hattie Wickline, says Miller's father never gave up hope.
He grieved over that death, and he was so anxious for them to find who did this to his baby.
For the next couple decades, the case would remain frozen on ice until one day a tip came in, turning the whole thing upside down.
She was just such a good, clean, honest, innocent victim, and those are the ones you really want to get justice for.
In the October grand jury, Detective Sergeant Morgan Bragg and prosecuting attorney Kristen Keller were able to secure an indictment for 64-year-old Earl James Robbins, a former Beckley resident doing time in California. He was indicted by the same grand jury for the abduction, kidnapping, and sexual assault of a 13-year-old girl, although detectives can't say whether there's a connection.
This took a lot of reaching out. Obviously, you know our suspect's in California. He was a resident in this area for a period of time, like she said, periodically, but he moved around a lot. And one of the things that we had to do was follow that trail.
Right now, the details of that trail are being guarded, but detectives say they'll be released as they head to trial.
There cannot be enough thank yous for what they have done.
Keller says an indictment is not a conviction, and this case is no slam dunk.
Any detail, how insignificant it might seem, could become important.
They're tips that could bring justice for Miller, the bride-to-be who never made it to the altar.
He needs to get his soul right and have God forgive him for what he's done, because I believe my family has.
Justice for life stolen, but for friends and family, Miller will be remembered for her beautiful soul, a memory that can never be taken away. Here for you in Beckley, I'm Annie Moore, W.Va News.
All right, thank you, Annie. And the next step in the case is an extradition hearing to bring Robbins from California to West Virginia for trial. The prosecutor says she can't comment on the convictions Robbins is currently serving time for. Of course, we will continue to follow developments in this particular case. Martin?
Thank you, Melinda.